This oneness is supposed to bring joy to both of you. If no one, the truth is that no one really does anything for any other reason except joy. No one really goes out to be rich or to be successful or to be a superstar because they just that's exactly what they want. They do that because they believe that they're gonna be happy. The reason why you married, you thought that this meeting together in the street, going out, we should just make the whole thing just in one place. This will make us happy. But when you were not happy, then because it is sort of what you did failed to bring joy to you, you didn't want to do it anymore. You didn't want to continue with it anymore. You don't want to continue with your job because you're not happy in the job. So you don't want to continue with your marriage because you're not happy in the marriage. So when you see that and you see that the real cause of the divorce was that we did not make our happiness be based on our oneness, on our one fleshness, on our togetherness, on our service towards one another. We found joy outside of that which was supposed to bring us together. Because if we are happy together, we're gonna spend more time together. But if we are happy outside of each other, we're gonna spend most of our times, our energies, our passion, our 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 skill, our talent on that because that's what we find happiness in. And if we find happiness in that, but when you come together, we don't find happiness, the most natural thing that will come is that, maybe we must just call it quits. And you call it quits. But you grew and then you realize that now you're ready to do that because that has given you a lesson that you can find joy in your wife. And then she has also learned that she can find joy in you if she puts effort in doing things to delight in, but which are making you happy. And he also discovers that he can really find joy if he finds delight in the things that he does for you, in the things that he does with you. So when you meet one another, it's like, you still won. And then you could just see that you could make it work again. And this time you come experience, you come with understanding, and you come understanding what your role is, what you're supposed to do to make it work. Unlike before, where it was just emotion, it was just infatuation that when teenagers fall in love, they think they can't live without one another. 10 years later, they've exchanged boyfriends and girlfriends. You know, so it was that. It was just feeling. It was not understanding what marriage is and what it means when you get married and live together and how that can be maintained. And the only way that that can be maintained is when the deeds, the expression of the love that you have for one another brings happiness to one another. That's the only way that marriage can work. And then the one who loves must be thinking that if I'm going to be happy, I'm going to do things. I have to do things that make me happy. And to do things that make me happy is to make that person whom I love happy. And when she's happy or when he's happy, I'll be happy that they're happy. So when you come together and you look at each other and then you realize that actually you haven't changed, you just didn't have understanding of what marriage is. Marriage is for the perfection of the man, the perfection of the woman. This man and woman have different characteristics, they have different virtues. The man will have strong virtues which the woman has as weaknesses. And the woman likewise will have strong virtues which the man has as weaknesses. So when they come together in that oneness, when they become one flesh, they become perfected. And because of that, because they become perfected, they don't want to leave one another. I mean, like if you didn't have a hand and then you suddenly found a hand and they attach it to you, you will never want to part ways with that hand. So when the Bible says that it is bad for a man to be alone, it means that when a man is alone, he's incomplete. And when a woman comes and completes and perfect him, he would never want to leave her. As long as he understands what must come to pass in order for them to be together, to stay happy together. So when a man and a woman divorce and then they realize the error of their ways after they've divorced, and then they also admit that they admit to one another, during our marriage, I think that I should have put more effort in trying to make you happy. I think that I was, so focused on other things. This will be the man admitting his own errors, and I think that because I was happier doing things without you, that is what separated me from you, even though I was married, and because I found happiness in doing stuff with people, stuff with guys and other things. That is why I enjoyed being away from you, because I was happy in the things that I was doing away from you. And then the woman also sees that, also she sees that she was spending too much time with her girlfriend, and she was always, about getting things and never really considering you, how you feel, how you want things to be, so that you could all come to a point, a center point in which both of you can rejoice in that. And then if this happened, the most natural thing to happen would say, so would you like to try again? And then the woman likewise said, yeah, I mean, like, if you want to try again, I know what I have to do to make it work. And you also say that I know what I have to do to make it work. And both of you agree that this is what, and this when you look at it, these were the things that brought the marriage to fall apart. And then you realize that if you can fix that, if you had that fixed at that time, you would have never divorced. So that's where you go back together. And because when you come back together, the man understands this. The joy that I'm going to have in this marriage will be based on what I do for my wife to bring her joy. So the joy that she gets will bring me joy. The woman likewise also understand that the joy that I'm going to get in this marriage is in the things that I'm going to do for my husband to make him happy. And because I love him and I want him to, I will find happiness in his happiness. So you have both grown. You have both come to an understanding that you at the beginning you didn't understand, but now you understand, and you have decided to remarry. And your remarriage is gonna be much more stronger than your first marriage. I'm in no way advising people that they should marry and then divorce and marry again as a learning point. It is better to learn first what marriage is about, and the Bible does clearly show us that what marriage is all about. How a man must love his wife like his own skin. Adam called Eve his own skin, literally flesh of my flesh. So that this is an old command. It's not a new command. Paul said it in the New Testament, but in the Old Testament, Adam was literally saying that, Eve is my own skin, flesh of my flesh. And because a man loves himself, he cleans himself and anoints himself with oil, he should do the same thing for his wife who is one flesh with him. So when you're coming from that point of knowing, even before you're married, because in terms of the divorced couple, they discover the error of their ways after they've made an error. But there is no law against getting things right first time. In fact, it is better to get right things right first time, because some things can be catastrophic. Children's lives can be broken. It could lead to very terrible things. So what you really want is to have knowledge. That's why God says that seek first His righteousness, His kingdom and righteousness. His righteousness means that find out the way that God wants things to work, the way that God wants marriage to be, the way that God wants the husband to be towards his wife, the way that God wants the wife to be towards her husband. So when you know that beforehand, before you go into marriage, that is even better, because there will be no scars, there will be no terrible experiences. But some experiences don't necessarily make you a better person. They can make you a cautious person. And when you become cautious, you never go all out with all your heart. And in cases where you have had bad experiences in terms of relationships, even when you find a good person who could be a good husband, a good wife to you, or a good spouse, because of your experiences, you're always holding back. Once bitten, twice shy. So you're always holding back. You're not going all out, believing that I'm gonna bring joy to this person and I'm gonna find joy in their happiness. Was you afraid that even when I do that, it might not work, and then it might still end up being, a breakup or a marriage? So I'm not saying that people should look to divorce and then learn and then come back. No. The point I'm trying to make is that understanding and knowledge of what marriage is what leads to successful marriages. This is not about, if you find her physically attractive that you want to marry her, because something could happen to her that she's no longer, or you enjoy speaking to her. What if you can't speak to her anymore? Maybe she can't speak. You see, so how are you gonna do that? You see, the marriage is gonna fall apart. But if you understand that it is in their weaknesses when they need you to love them most. You see, so it is in our weaknesses when we really need the grace of God. It is in when we sin against Him that we really need Him to now manifest more and more of His love to us, so that we can take our eyes away from these wicked things, from these abominations, and focus on Him. So when your spouse is not happy because of the way she looks, or because of that, or because she has gained weight, that's when now you manifest more love, that she forgets about her weight gain and focus on your love, and that makes her happy. And happiness, her happiness brings happiness to you because it brings happiness to your own home. You see, so if you knew that before you got married first time, it would have been great because you would have never divorced. But no, better late than never. If you know that now after you've divorced and you want to try again, and this time you're gonna go with knowledge, with understanding of what your role is, the marriage is gonna work. It's gonna work because you know that it's not gonna always gonna be milk and honey. Things are gonna go down, things are gonna be up, but in general, because you understand what's supposed to happen in marriage, it's gonna work. So this could really lead a couple, as spouses which were once divorced, coming back together and having a stronger marriage, because now they're coming back with an enlightened mind. They're coming back with a heart of God. They're coming back with a Christ-like heart, in which you understand that your spouse is not perfect. She's not perfect. She needs your forgiveness. She needs your understanding. She needs your grace. She needs your loving kindness. And it is that which makes her become a better person, because somebody understands them and somebody wants them to be better, for themselves, so that they could be good people, so they could contribute towards what is good. They could be a gift to all men, because people who are happy want to do good. You can't be happy and want to do evil. When you're happy, you want to do good. But when you're filled with anger and violence, like the devil is, you only gonna want to do evil. The Bible says that the devil is filled with violence and anger. That's why he's evil. But God, Christ, they are filled with joy. That's why all they can do is good, because they have joy. So you know that when you do good to your wife, when you do good to your husband, and you bring joy to them, they can only do good because they are happy. Because happiness leads people to do good. So in conclusion, I like to say that yes, you can learn from the mistakes that you made in when you were married first time, and that you may want to get back with your spouse because you realize there was never really something significantly wrong. It was just that both of you did not understand marriage. And now you have seen the error of your ways, you see that it's gonna take work from both of you, especially from the man, because he's the one who's supposed to lead. So this gonna take work, and you're willing to do that work, and you're willing to find happiness in that work. Because when you don't find happiness in what you do for your wife to make her happy, you're not gonna do it, because naturally you are attracted to happiness, you're attracted to joy. So whatever you do expecting that you can get joy. If what you're doing does not bring you joy, you're not going to be animated to do it all the time. But if you learn and make yourself find joy in the things that you do for your wife, you're going to do them over and over again, because that's what you naturally want. You want to be happy. So if a couple have divorced, I would say that, I would advise them and say, well, yeah, if you have learned that what went wrong, and you had really been able to pinpoint that, yes, that was the cause of our marriage falling apart, but now we have hearts which are understanding what marriage is, and hearts which understand what the role of a husband is and the role of a wife is in a marriage. Yeah, I would say go for it. Go for it. Go get back together, rebuild again. But don't set your expectations too high. Just take it slow. Take it as if you've never been married before and start from scratch. And because if you take it like you've never been married before, but with the experience of marriage, that means you as a man will always gonna try to impress her, try to win her again. And then she's always gonna have something to react to in terms of trying to show you that yes, she is impressed and she wants you to impress her even more by the way that she responds to what you do in terms of expressing your love for her. Yeah, that's it. That's all that I wanted to say. This has been the Psalmist. Thank you for listening.